Harry just jumped in. I don't know if he's going to join us. If you're not following Rosette Wellness, you better start following them. Harry's an OG.
I'm
Harry,
something.
you're something. You're something, Harry. You're something. Are you still in the lab?
Got out.
Are you still in the lab?
No, I just escaped.
Good, good, man. You deserve it.
I escaped and
What up?
What up?
made
What
a
up,
couple
what
of bricks of hash today.
That's what it's all about, making hash.
It actually is. We got some pictures up of the hash that's going out the door this week. We're pretty proud of that.
That's awesome. Oh,
Pretty.
somebody got laced up.
Had to. Yo,
What'd you get?
the homie. Love you,
RJ.
bro. Fucking love you.
RJ was in town for the glass show, and he connected me with his buddy who just jumped in here, not a hash co. And the guy had some nice hash, and I was super stoked to meet him. So it was very cool.
Guys, a beauty.
RJ escaped with some turps.
Absolute beauty.
Where are my turps? They're right there. Those are my turps.
So is that a disguise package? As to throw off law enforcement, it's not actually hash?
Yeah, it's not a hash co.
Lip balm? It's fucking lip balm. I was thinking about that. I didn't get anything from Canada Dabs, and I was like, you son of a bitch, you forgot.
He didn't forget. He had dabs for you.
Yeah, I just didn't grab them.
Yeah.
That was it.
Yeah.
I was like, fuck, you know. Yeah, not a hash co's a fucking beauty. Absolute fucking beauty.
I literally don't get to try anybody else's hash. It's kind of wild being a here because you really don't get to try other people's hash too often.
When I come see you, Harry, I'll bring you a bunch of hash to try.
Like,
and when you come up here, I'll lace you up with some hash.
Like I love trying other people's hash if it's good, but I don't get to do it too often. It's weird. It's a weird concept, but
that surprises me in Arcata. Like, you know, with you hanging out with Burger and all those boys that you don't try, that you don't have more hash to try. That surprises me.
I don't get out, dude. All I do is work. That's the thing. If I run into Joey, he ends up smoking my hash usually. I don't run into him that often. I should. He's having all these regen seed things.
After smoking your hash, I don't blame Joey for always smoking your hash.
I'm hoping to get up to that one. Him and Eric are putting on one up in Grass Valley area. May 7th.
Is that Eric Grandstad?
The one and only.
The inventor of the light depth greenhouse? The man himself? No, I'm just joking.
Not quite, but Eric is responsible actually for a lot of the fucking little nitty gritty of making the automated greenhouse shit work originally.
For sure.
So, you guys ever watch that show, Murder Mountain? Did you guys ever see that? So, first of all, Murder Mountain's Rancho Sequoia, specifically. It's a subdivision. And that mountain is the mountain that you see out my backyard when you're looking out my backyard on my lives. So that's Murder Mountain. I'm looking at the back side. They're on the front side.
That's too funny. It's all like, it's not just, that's just a sensationalized story. Like, it's pretty spread out. Like, not all concentrated.
Well, the reason I'm saying that is the murder, it was supposed to be called the murder of Rodriguez is what it was going to be, but then they turned it into this docudrama thing. it was just a story about that kid's murder. And those of us that were out there during that definitely remember it, because the freaking feds and the cops were fucking everywhere. Everybody but the sheriff was looking for this kid and the murderer. But anyway, that guy Cassidy, he had a fucking huge scene at one point. Like, I don't know what they got. I haven't been to Rancho in a decade or more, easily. It's insane there. It's even more insane in Rancho than most of Humboldt, which is why they picked it and why they got so traumatized. But that guy had the first forever flowering in the state of California. And he doesn't talk about it or show anything on his show, but, you know, it was built in the middle of nowhere. And so they had to bring the whole crew in from Grass Valley because there was nobody that knew how to set these things up here.
Yeah.
And then they had no electrician, so...
What year was that, bro?
Probably the early 2000s, like maybe even 2001, 2002, something like that.
Yeah.
It was pretty early on.
Yeah.
I'll have to ask Eric. He would remember because he was with them at that point. But they didn't have any electrician, so I was it. So I ended up being the electrician for the site, and he ended up... It just ended up kept building and building. He needed more and more power, and then a generator, and then he decided to put lights and all this shit. But when they first started putting that up, they didn't know what they were doing. And that's my point. Like, it was fucked up. Actually, now that I realize this is before Eric, I think this guy literally bought like the first forever flowering. And he bought it. It was like a 40 by 90, this huge building, very tall. Had an automated curtain setup, has a weather station with automated sides and all this stuff, but it didn't completely work for months and months and months. And they told him it was going to be turnkey for 180 G's. By the time he got done, it was 450.
Ugh.
And this was a long time ago, you know, and they kept having to develop the property. There was all this shit that they had to figure out. The crew disappeared for a while, then they came back with more stuff for the greenhouse. And after that, you know, when I look at it, after that is when Eric ended up joining on. And my point about this is it was really fucked up when people were trying to do this at first, trying to bastardize the agritech greenhouses is really what it was, and the clear spans, to try to figure out some kind of automated system based on what they used to use for shade cloth. To pull shade cloth over it. And then the other industry that this came from is the entertainment industry. Scenic drops. It's basically what a light depth system is in most automated greenhouses is a really sophisticated scenic drop system with guide tracks and everything. And so it was funny because they didn't really know how to set it up, and me and my union stagehand brothers, we actually were like, holy shit, these are just like our automated scenic drops. So I just ended up having some carpenters help me tweak the system.
That's hilarious.
That's what ended up happening because, yeah, and it was pre-Eric. Like, Eric actually figured it out. I think he manufactured some new shit. And the rest is history. I mean, automated greenhouses are dialed now.
Yeah. Yeah, no, they're I think that's it for Canada. I mean, I'm sure that I know there's outdoor opportunity, but, you know, good insulated greenhouses where you separate.
This guy he set up a greenhouse with lights, and he was going to have 600 plants going perpetually, full-time trimmers, the whole thing. They didn't figure out, I mean, they basically had a chamber that's sealed and no ventilation. So that was the next thing. So he got everything up and running, put everything in there, and it just rotted because there was no ventilation. So then they had to take it all apart again and dig trenches and bring ventilation into the middle of the light depth chamber where it's sealed up, you know. Literally, he had to like bring out every mistake that there is to make with his project. And it cost him more than double what they quoted him.
That's ridiculous.
But he finally got a good run out of it.
Yeah. I hope he did after all that.
And so those are those dudes on Murder Mountain on that film. You know, it's all glamorized and it doesn't even look like them, but that's it's fucking funny, man.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
It's pretty accurate. That's what's scary. So that video, like when it comes to the scenes in Rancho, it's real as a heart attack what they're talking about. But the thing that's weird is though they show other locations throughout Humboldt and try to lump it all together like it's all in Rancho, but it's not. You know, so that's where I call bullshit and most of the not all Rancho that they're showing. They're bouncing all over the fucking county and making it seem like it's all on Murder Mountain.
Is that Aldergrove area?
What's that?
Is it Aldergrove?
Alder Point.
Alder Point. That's what it is.
Yeah. Rancho's in Alder Point, but Rancho is like, it's deep, man, and they intentionally keep the roads fucked up there, and there's no street signs, and it's overgrown, and they won't cut it back because they want it to be confusing in there. You know, it's intense. And on top of that, before the hippies went in there, and then the bad elements and the green rush, before all that, I mean, it was a pretty historic Indian area, Native American, and you know, they call it Murder Mountain from that period because they got slaughtered there. You know, it's not Murder Mountain because of the freaking hillbillies. That was one of the last stands. They got pushed up from Fort Seward towards where I live in Bloxburg. The cavalry came at the Indians from the Native Americans from both sides. They came down from the 36 and they came up from Alder Point Road. And then they had their last stand like up on the hill above where I live. As a matter of fact, my neighbor up above me can't actually grow because it's an archaeological site.
That's crazy.
Because it's a last stand. There's too many arrowheads and skulls and fucking musket balls and shit on her property.
That's fucking wild.
It is. It is wild. And it's like in the middle of the woods, you know. 36 was a cavalry-only road. And if you were on there was a wagon trail that went through the woods. And one of my farmers, Ronzo, he actually has, you know, one of those wagon trails on his property. It's pretty cool with the old sign still stuck on the tree from the, whatever it was, 1800s. Cool shit. Look at that. What is that, banana?
Fruit joy. It's the barb to the barb to the papaya, and barb is a shishka berry cross, or some say it's just a shishka berry pheno. I don't know.
Isn't it House the Great Gardener or something?
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
That's crazy, bro. That's very cool. I know you mentioned that Indian burial ground thing to me before. I remember I used to work for a publicly traded company who had like property on an Indian burial ground, and they're like, "Yeah, it'll be fine," and I'm like, "It's not gonna be fine," and they're like, "Oh, it'll be fine." I'm like, it's really not gonna be fine, and it wasn't fine. So, you know, those guys are still trading, but they're like a fake company. Like they're such a shell of it. Just publicly traded means nothing. If somebody says, "Oh, I work for a publicly traded company," what they're saying to you is they work for a company. There's nothing like, there's no fucking difference. You work for your dad.
Well, there is a difference. The difference really is that you really are beholden to your shareholders more so than more so than an LLC.
Sure.
You know, and that's
sure. And
early on when all these different schemes were tried, and the reverse takeover, that people do in Canada to get listed in Canada instantly.
Yeah, the RTO.
Harborside did and stuff. We looked at that. People wanted to bring us in on doing that with my old company when I actually had a company that was thriving. Yeah, and we looked at so many of these different things, and you're beholden to a whole different thing at that point, and you can be a family business, but you can't be a family business. As soon as you're publicly traded, you're fucking beholden to the whole, to the shareholders. I mean, it's bad enough if you have investors.
The question, are you trying to build a real company, or are you trying to cash out, right? Like I've seen publicly traded guys who are trying to
I
build
just
real.
hate the whole fucking thing, dude. To be honest with you, like to have
Oh
it
yeah, no.
even have to think about an exit strategy with a company that's literally based on my life is like, are
Oh,
you
bro,
kidding me?
that's
Like, what's my exit strategy? Death, you
yeah,
know,
yeah, yeah,
as far as I can tell.
yeah.
That's my exit strategy.
Straight up.
But believe me, I get sucked in. I've been around the block a lot, and what's your exit strategy? How do you want to structure these entities? And I'm just like, it's not what I want to fucking do, man. Like, I actually just want to have a family and an employee run company and fuck everybody. To be honest, if anybody really wants to know what I want to do,
Yeah,
that's really what I want to do.
yeah,
You
for
know,
sure.
but it's like you got to be a real company. So you have to be this compliant LLC at worst, or an incorporated company or a group of entities. And
Hmm.
it just sucks you in. It sucks the life out of you. It sucks
Yeah,
all the imagination and art out of everything. I gotta tell you.
for sure.
But it's part
100%.
of the game. It's part of the game. So
Oh yeah,
you have to come to
big business
realize
is
that
here to stay for sure.
you need to do something to feed the beast so you actually have enough money to do something fun. I mean, that's what it comes down to. You just have to make sure that you actually do something fun with the money that you make.
Yeah,
You know?
yeah, but it's easy for us weed heads because we don't need to take vacations and shit because we do what we love every day. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's like, yeah, like, we work hard and yeah, break's nice, but like, I'm not gonna not go to like weed gatherings when my bank account's fat. Like, I'm just gonna go to them and stay at nicer places. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I'm still gonna go there. Like, that's where I want to be.
Maybe. I'm a hippie, man.
Yeah, maybe for sure. I feel
I
that, but
feel uncomfortable. When I was doing some of these big corporate shows, they'd put me up at like the Sir Francis Drake Hotel, and I'm like, well, I'm like rolling in with a dirty pickup truck. And they're wearing ties and tails, literally tux and tails with white gloves and shit. And it's like $1,000 a day for your incidentals that they lean on your card. And oh, you're here for 10 days? It'll be, it's like, holy shit. Yeah, that's not me at all.
yeah, yeah.
At all. Give me a
Everybody,
red roof, man.
yeah,
Red roof in, man.
yeah, man, for
Give me some
sure.
I need good restaurants more than anything. That's the critical. A clean room and really good food. Like, I'll spend money on food. That's where I'm down to spend money.
That's where I'm at too.
And hash, but I make hash, so I mean, I think that's obvious.
Good
But
smoke and good food.
obvious.
Super necessary. Jameson, are you trying to talk right now?
No, I was on the phone for a second.
Okay.
You look like you got sun today, Jameson, or something.
No, man, I'm just naturally olive from that
He's glowing.
Egyptian blood in me.
Let's see. I see.
Yeah.
You naturally have that sun glow.
Yeah, absolutely, man. You should see me when I get to sunny places. I turn brown pretty quick.
I grew up with a friend like that. He just immediately turned into a different person. It was amazing.
Yeah.
All summer he was like black, black.
Yeah.
And during wintertime he was pretty pale.
Yeah. Yeah.
He's from Italy though. That's what's really wild.
Did you see
Different
that?
skin pigmentations.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Did you? Mendo Budsmith made like a really interesting post to his story today, like talking about resin production under LEDs versus high pressure sodium bulbs, and how you really need to. You can still produce if you grow the same way you grow under HPS bulbs under LEDs. The resin is not going to be even close, and I've experienced that. Like, I transferred over and I saw that, and it took a while. And like, when I look back, I thought it was me like dialing in my new room because I had changed spots when I switched from HPS to LED, but it wasn't. It was dialing in the room, but it was also like changing the grow methodology for LEDs to produce hash. And I think that yeah, if you haven't gone and checked him out, he's got some really interesting points where he's just talking about like the temperature that the sodium bulb gives off, like the heat the bulb gives off has a direct result to the resin that the plant makes. And like, you know, it's all based on his opinions, but it's you know, it's an interesting opinion.
Well, there's absolutely no question that the environment is different when you're growing with LEDs. If you just don't do anything, you know, your humidity, temperatures, surface temperatures are definitely going to be different. And so the key is, do you know what those were and what you liked with the sodium mag? Because if you do, then you just have to tweak your room to replicate with the LED. But it is a big deal because it's very drying, those ag lights. And, you know, in the old days, we had the freaking ballast in the room, which is really drying. And you started to count on that for a certain amount of heat, certain amount of humidity removal. So not that it was good, but and that's what's interesting about the Sun on Demand. April 3rd, I got Sundarajan on my Sunday sesh. That should be a good one.
Oh, that'll be cool.
He's a brain, and we're going to chop it up. But he talks about the energy that's coming off the sun, and that's why their fixture is different. I used to run one of their lights, and it's really amazing. So I think that he's supposed to be giving me another one, and I'm going to run it with the Foes. I have an 06i going right now, which I'm pretty damn impressed with, by the way. That thing kicks fucking ass. That's their one it's like a rectangular LED. It's not the strips in a array, kind of that like most people use for coloring.
Long box ones?
Not really. It's maybe.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's meant to fly high in greenhouses or big bedrooms. You can flower under it because it's, you know, full spectrum, but you can. It has a controller that's Wi-Fi, which I don't have currently, and then you could turn the intensity up and down from like 280, 4 something, 7 something, 9 something, and then 1200. And good Lord, as soon as I turned it all the way up, the room just took off. You know, I was really impressed, to be honest with you. It was really good compared to my last fixture, which is just a regular Gavita, double-ended. He's going in.
So are they just trying to, like you're saying, the spectrum of light, just replicating the sun rather than specific spectrum to induce different things?
The Foes or the...
Yeah, the Foes.
The Foes has a few different fixtures. The one that I have, yes, you can change the spectrums in most of them. This one right now I'm running is a little bit more on the vegetative side because that's all I'm doing with it is trying to boost up my moms and doing some clones. But they have other fixtures. I think it's the A3i, and they have a number of spectrums where it's like, you know, spring, summer, fall spectrums, and really accurate cross-fading that I like. I mean, they've literally knocked off because Lux just died, basically. You know, Hawthorne bought them, and now they can't sell them or something. It's a fucking mess. So they literally just knocked off the main fixture that they have all these bids out for right now because they can't do them. So Foes is like Supermaning in. And but then they have a number of other fixtures like the 06i and the A3i that are really pretty impressive. Drastically different though. Like I said, mine is like a brick, and then the other ones are more of an array fixture of strips so that you get a, you know, bigger footprint. They're pretty damn impressive. But then if you add this Sun on Demand, what you're adding is the real full spectrum of the sun along with the energy. And that's the big deal. That's what you're lacking with all the other fixtures. All you're getting is visible light. You're not actually getting the energy. With an ag light, you're getting a certain amount of heat energy, you know, and that's something that has to be calculated for. It is energy, but the sun gives off a lot more than heat energy, and it's penetrating, and you know, it's a big deal. It's hard to replicate. So it'll be a fun talk with him. He's a fusion engineer, a fusion chemist engineer, but he's also an expert on sunlight and how the sun works and living things working with the sun.
Sun?
The mixture was used for things other than cultivating weed. You know, that's why it was developed for other things.
Is the guy's
like, what's that?
Is the guy's name Sun?
Yeah, Sundarajan.
Yeah, we chopped it up with him on Clubhouse way back. He's an awesome dude.
Yeah. He's a good friend of mine, and he'll be on. We're going to talk because a lot of people, you know, including myself, didn't really understand this stuff, and it's a big deal. And I think if other people start thinking about it, leaning their indoors towards it, they're going to end up with better products. A lot of the reason why we're seeing such bad viroid problems is really bad practices combined with indoor cultivation, because indoor cultivation doesn't keep the plant healthy enough to fight that stuff off. And in general, you're not using a wide spectrum of IMO, which would also naturally keep the viroid out. I never even thought about it, but basically nobody that grows exclusively or regeneratively, especially outdoors and or with the sun, they don't have the viroid. The only time they get it is when somebody that's growing it indoors gives it to them. It's because it crowds it out.
I was just talking to my buddy. I was just talking to my buddy, and he's seeing it spread in the root zone. So he's seen it go through beds and just tear everything up in a bed. Is that what you're seeing?
Well, if it comes from an indoor, and it could be a temporary situation, I can guarantee you that I've grown a couple strains in the last 3 years that have had dudding, you know, viroid for sure. The plant looked and finished beautiful, but the cannabinoid content was too low and the yield was too low. You know, some of the stuff was a lot less developed than it should have been for the time of year. And but it's not in the soil. That's what I'm saying. Like, if you're growing with tons of IMOs, like, that shit just can't live. It's mostly spreading. Sure, it's spreading through contact and so on, but it ends up getting crowded out and killed in a really raging living soil situation versus a rock wool situation where it's just static and you're using salt nutrients mainly. The viroid can really thrive. It's wild. And the sunlight, though, the sunlight is a big part of it, because the sunlight creates these energy fields that creates a lot of immune responses that are impossible under regular artificial light, because all you're getting is visible light. And so you can't ever get to that level of health. You can certainly have sick plants outside, but if you have a super healthy plant outside, there's a lot of systems that are not going on an indoor with artificial light. And because of that, you really don't see viroids and really bad pathogenic issues in something that is a successful, healthy, regenerative farm.
Have you done it to the point where, you know, you've had something dudding, you've taken it outside, you've put it into living soil, and then you've taken a cutting off new growth, and that new cutting is good? Or you?
Yeah. No, definitely. As a matter of fact, if you dig it up out of a bed that's infected and isolated and put it into intense sun, because they'll take it further. I grow in greenhouses, and all plastic, all covering inherently has UV block, right? And so there's inherently spectrum you're going to miss no matter what, even in a great greenhouse. And because of that, just bringing it outside into the full sun at the right time of year definitely cleaned it up. Absolutely. Is it guaranteed? No, but it definitely works, and we tested it, and it was, went from infected to not infected.
So do you believe that, like Jungle Boys say, that you can zero tall your way out of it? Like, you can zero tall dip your way out of it? Are you, is that something that you think? Have you experienced that at all? What up, Collin?
I don't know. That sounds a little bit far-fetched to me. I think if you have a really clean environment, if you're really careful, you can potentially feed it back maybe to the point where you're still going to have decent production. Because remember, you can have the viroid and still have raging yields and really sick weed and not even realize it until one day you're in trouble. But all I can say is, that's a hell of a chance to take,
Yeah. What do you think, Collin?
I agree. I mean, like Kevin McKernan and I did some tests with the hop laden viroid, and we tested basically our baseline was what other than hydrogen peroxide is out there that you can give plants that will get an immune response. And sure, xylitol and these other things that have H2O2 in them do give the plant an immune response, but to the point, that was just brought up, are they going to really change and get rid of a viroid? No, there's no way.
Yeah.
That's
They're
just
still carrying it. It's just suppressed because the plant got stronger. The plant just got stronger. The minute the plant gets weaker, it's going to show again.
Yeah, you can have a headache and take aspirin, but you still technically have a headache, right?
Yeah.
So,
yeah. But you can remediate your living mediums with IMO, definitely.
yeah.
That I can say for sure.
It's how long does the plant have to be healthy until you can stress it to a point where it's not going to show that, or is it you're just better off to cut and dip your way out of it instead of trying to,
I mean, for me, I learned a long time ago, one of the funniest things that Ringo ever taught me was that there's a cure to everything, every single disease. You cut it down and burn it, So at a certain point, that is what you have to do if you can't get rid of it. But soil testing proves that with things like using heavy JMS saturation in between and then lighter saturation during cultivation, you're going to crowd out any of the bad pathogens or diseases, period. You will. I mean, we've tested it. We've done the bench tests, and it's very obvious. It crowds it out. The stuff penetrates. Just a small amount will inoculate 20 feet deep. Very, very powerful if you do it correctly with the leaf molds and get it going.
That's crazy.
But it's an all organic environment. I mean, it all makes sense if you think about it. I feel stupid for cultivating, the way I used to a long time ago, frankly, now that I'm a lot more educated.
What? Go into that. Unpack that.
Well, I mean, I started the way a lot of other people did. I was growing with bubblers with 3-part General Hydro, back in the 80s, 90s. But eventually graduated to what I thought was organic, which was a combination of fertilizers and teas and amendments, and then eventually graduated to what I thought was living soil, and now I've graduated to what is actually living soil. And, it's a series of realizations. When you're in your 20s, you think you know everything. In your 30s, maybe a little bit more so. And then in your 40s, you start to realize you didn't know what the hell you were doing. And then in your 50s, it gets even worse. And as it goes on. So, I'm kind of getting down to the point where I'm seeing serious benefits with all the regen. But, in saying that, not everybody can do that. And you can do it in your closet, though. People have proven it. People prove us wrong all the time. You can do it in your closet. So there's really no excuse. It's very easy to do. But the reality is, like I'm saying, there are people that are taking it to extremes. It's breathtaking, and it's making me excited wanting to do the same thing, where they've bought a bunch of wood chippers and they're doing fire clearings anyway, right? So they're making massive amounts of wood chips and inoculating with IMO, and they're going 500 feet into their forest and then bringing this wood chip, sort of compost mulch all the way down to their cultivation site and right to their beds. And so they're literally creating this fungal biological network that is connecting their forest and their property to their their weed and all their produce and everything. And believe me, they all talk, you know, they literally do. There's an underground communication that goes on. And if you can form that connection versus tilling and throwing this shit out all the time, you know, we all heard about this and read about this, but Jesus, it's quite drastic what happens if you have it versus not having it. And some of these people are really starting to do it now. If you look at some of these regen farms, that's the ultimate, you know, that's their goal, is to creep all of your forestry and have all your co-plants and everything working with each other. And you're going to prevent a lot of the shit that we deal with by monocropping, these mites and thrips and
Oh, for sure.
fucking powder and whatever. It just doesn't happen.
Yeah.
It doesn't look right when you're monocropping. You know, you don't see, it doesn't look like the woods,
Yeah.
right? In the woods, everything's on top of each other and it's thriving.
Yeah. What were you?
When it grows all separated.
What were you gonna say, Collin? I saw you saying something there.
Well, I mean, look, from what I've seen at scale, just growing, you know, hemp regeneratively at scale,
Yeah,
it doesn't need much. Especially with polyculture involved, like it's amazing to see how it just does its thing, and if you put the right things together, have the right biome and you have the right inputs that are amendments, I should say, that are there in your soil bed, and you're in the right, you know, spacing and the right airflow and all these things that you have to think about. There's no better way. The resin is the truth teller. I mean, the amount of compounds that are produced at, you know, because the nutrients are readily available. It's an art form as well. I got to say that, like, it takes you time to learn how to grow this way. You know, like, it took me a decade to really even understand it, honestly. And then sending in soil samples and trying to understand, like, why the phenos that I was selecting didn't perform well, but others did. And, you know, that was the big journey in learning that. But I mean, the resin doesn't lie, and the biomass doesn't either. You know, I mean, it's less, you know, as
I have a question for you on that. The resin doesn't lie. So, as somebody who's very experienced in indoor cultivation, Mendo Budsmith had made some interesting posts today about growing under high pressure sodium and LEDs. And, like, as somebody who made the switch, what was the biggest thing that you've noticed? I'm pretty sure you've made the switch. You're an LED grower, aren't you?
Well, I mean, like, in commercial setups, like, it's a mixed bag, you know. But I think in terms of if I was to set something up, I would want to run LEDs personally. I have noticed that the same varietals that I've had for literally 20 plus years perform better under the right environmental controls with LEDs. You know, it's very clear, and I'm just such a data nerd that I'm, like, connecting this stuff all the time. But over the past 8 years that I've had been able to really collect what I would consider a better subset of data, it's clear to me that the varietals that I choose to run, they perform better in an LED indoors.
Interesting.
As long as my environment in my root zone and all the temperature zones that I have, which is root zone, mid canopy zone, airflow has to happen there, and then of course, and then as I call it, ambient.
Have you had to adjust the density of your canopy? Like, did you find you could go deeper, a lot deeper?
It's about opening your canopy up more and allowing that to. It's like this idea of less is more, like less plants as well, and letting them open up and letting them have the space that they need. I find that I grow much better resin doing that. So,
and my phone's dying. I got a rip, boys. But
all right, peace, buddy.
Peace, man. But yeah, that's what I essentially of you know, that's what I've ran into. But yeah,
Interesting.
journeyman. I mean, there's cats out there that'll say they love HPS because of whatever reason, you know, and there's no cool. That's you. You like that. And you like the way the resin comes out that way and the way you're. I mean, everyone has their vibe. There's nothing like that. But for what I'm looking for, I've found predominantly more and more that LED's been doing better for resin.
Nice. That's super interesting. I think, you know, there's a lot. It's like you said, there's a lot of different ways to get there, but everybody's got their own take on it and it's mastered their own way. I mean, Harry started with streetlights.
Yeah. At the end of the day.
Don't make fun of me. That's all there was.
Look, we all came there. I mean, I used to steal back in the day. We would steal like street lamps and rewire. We were those kids, you know. We were scrappy yet resourceful, you know.
Are you thinking, Collin, that like this is the year of the sour, like a sour revival? Like I'm seeing, like I was talking to Real Deal Resin, and they're like, man, we're just looking through sour work. Like I feel like there's a ton of refocus back on that old sour. Are you seeing that? Or not at all?
Back to it. This year, all of a sudden, everybody's like, you know what?
I know. It's crazy. Everybody's like, that is really good weed. That is really good weed.
Of course, the best weed. Come on. All right, so here's the thing with sour.
We burned on it, man. We grew too much of it.
It's 12 weeks. Yeah, I've grown a ton. I've grown so much. I love it, but it's like I hate, you know? And but it's phenomenal. Like you can't, there's nothing like a really well-grown sour. There's not much to complain about. You know what I mean?
The first really successful full melt single strain that I can really remember that I've made.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think I'm ready to work with it. I mean, I've been kind of buying, like I got some stuff from Masonic. I got his AJ sour, which is just New York City sour for all those kids out there. And that to his Wilson, I'm interested to see what people are doing with it. I've been working some lines with it, but it's not towards the end of me trying to revive the sour. It's me trying to take attributes from it rather than to do the sour or improve upon it. I think someone should improve upon it because I will say that if, you know, like Harry, you can agree, it's 12 weeks. To grow it well, it takes a lot of effort and it's not the best yielder. No.
Well, and not ours, man. the Emerald Triangle, we used to joke because sour diesel yielded so much. It was insane. That was the first plant we got 3 pounds of light from. Depends on the sour D that you have. You know, the original sour D that we had up in the mountains, the Albion sour diesel, are big, long buds that aren't super dense, but they're firm, you know, and very potent skunk and diesel smell. And it would yield like unbelievable. Especially, you know, a lot of us were going indoors and all of a sudden we were getting 3 pounds of light. You have to have a high ceiling. We learned you have to tie up every single bud or you're going to lose tons of weight. So all of us had this freaking strings hanging all over the place, you know, out of the ceiling to hold it up to be able to get that 3 pounds landed. But
yeah, we used to upskirt our stuff really hard, and it would because it was so late, right? And we would only have like the top half of the plant, you know, and we would lose like so much out of that. But I mean, we just had the original cut from like that was from New York, from the city, from Staten Island. So the diesel is what we called it.
Well, you guys had the East Coast, we had the West Coast, and that's the thing. We brought in what we called the New York City diesel. Yeah. But that was actually from Soma, you know. Yeah. When diesel got hot here, Soma came out with something called the New York City diesel just to confuse everybody. But
happened. It was like 2007. I don't know. It's early 2000s or something, mid 2000s that he did that. Can't remember.
The sour D that we grew actually came from these guys that live in Albion in the woods. There's no, it's in national forest land. It's weird, and that's what I popped a bunch of those, and I also have that crossed with the original Hindu Kush. So we'll see how that is.
That's dope.
But it's all for hash, really. That's all I want to do with it is make melt with it.
All right, I have a question for both of you. In your theory, Temple Ball, is that hash only ever get better in perpetuity, or is there a certain point of diminishing return when you're?
What do you call a Temple Ball?
Yeah, I was going to ask the same thing.
All right, well,
the real Temple Ball is not water hash. They didn't have water back then, so
that was
I hate to tell the world that, but it's got to be dry sift first of all. And so if you're making traditional hash, Moroccan, Lebanese, Temple Balls, if you do it right, if it's yielded right, and you store it right, what does better mean? First of all, it definitely changes the high, gets more sedative. You're definitely going to lose a lot of the light terpenes no matter what you do, depending on how long you leave it. You'll get that, magic hash terpene that Frenchie used to talk about for sure. And I definitely seen the hash get better and better. And I told you, I'm getting into the freezer storage, That's where I think aging could be good if you put it away for like a decade or more in the freezer.
My point is that we're just not seeing the heady community that has resources that likes its fine glass and its fine concentrates. Like we haven't seen a subsect emerge that is like,
There's people that do though, dude. Like I know people that have had balls away for a long time, but in the legal market. In the illegal market, you're going to find it here and there, but sporadically. But in the legal market, you have to have a compliant place and pay for it. We talked about this. At this point in California, certainly I don't want to pay for compliant storage to tuck away some hash for 10 years. Yeah. It's an interesting concept, though, if you can sell futures and put away samplings or something like that and have guaranteed certain storage and backup power and all this shit like you do for wines. It could be interesting.
What do you think, Collin?
No, I think Harry, dude, we're on the same wavelength. I think that it's just really, it's just difficult. Like, it's like a double-edged sword. Like our hearts want to do it. Like I want to make all the best dry sift and like that I can for everyone. But the fact of the matter is that I don't know how many people will actually buy it. And the other half of that is there's so many other things that we could use that resin to split it up to give more people the accessibility to it. Yeah. It really becomes down to that. And I actually would encourage everyone to learn how to make dry sift because it's something that you can actually do yourself. And that's where I think passing on that knowledge to people is really important as it was passed on to myself and others.
Remember those little boxes Marcus used to sell on his site? Those little like boxes that you would roll on and it would like sift for you really nicely. Somebody's got to do that. Like those boxes were pretty expensive, but if you could do it a little bit cheaper and more accessible where people could understand dry sifting just by the act of rolling a joint. And I don't just mean like 150 micron screen like a trim bin. I mean like multiple screens with a little bit of space in between them. I think that would be the easiest way for people to wrap their heads around it and understand like you got guys like Johnny B who like Johnny B is obsessed with first bounce. Like first bounce dry sift is Johnny B's favorite. Like
it's beautiful stuff, man. But the thing like dry sift, you can get some t-shirt press really cheap screens and do some basic stuff with it to get your hands involved. I'm not saying you're best hash that way, but it's something that can empower you to make something really great for yourself to have that is solventless and is really high quality. It's not just when you start scaling these things, and then the stat, Marcus, I was talking to Marcus today, and he the static tech that he's kind of been working
the hand tech.
Tech, yeah. And he's been mentioning that over for a while, and I think those are the techniques that, you know, I just encourage more people to do more of, because that means more hash will be out there and we can have more of it, you know, because I can only make so much of it, just as much as Harry can and everyone. It's like, you know what I mean? So I think it's just hard to, especially
well, I mean, it's like leveling up. It's like when people start giving away information, like those are the dangerous people. Because like I remember being at a point, and I think everybody is at or is currently going through it or whatever, where you're collecting information and you're like, man, I'm working really hard for this information, and I'm like, I want to protect it, and like this is what I base my value on, and then you get to a point where you realize like the best thing you can do is just start pouring this information out and getting as many people turned on, because they're going to pick up on different things. They're never going to do it the way you do it. Your sauce is your sauce. And the best thing you can do is turn a community of people on, so that, you know, a rising tide raises all ships. Like that was a big breakthrough for me, where it's like, yo, get it out there. I'd tell everybody everything and share everything, and then see what comes back. Yeah,
I encourage that, because look, if you're riding it on like a technique or something, it's not that. You may not think, you may not be you think you are, and that's just reality. Like that's why it's important to. Like, I use the musical instruments as the analogy. Like just go learn how to play the guitar, man. Like I'm never gonna play the same way as you, and you may never play the same way as me, but together you can play. We can make music, you know. And I think that's cool about it. And you don't need to flex on anyone. It's information that anyone should learn. Everyone should learn it. You know, like I think it's exciting to see other people do other things, man. I mean, I've been doing this my whole life, and I'm in my 40s now. Like I want to see a 20-something kid, you know, learn this. You know, like it's important to me. You know, this is not. Yeah, like this is so beyond that. That, and to your point, you know, Jameson, it's like you can't covet these things, because eventually someone's going to learn them on their own.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Absolutely. They're going to get to it. So turn them on and get them going. And you know, nobody's going to be at the same level of interest in all those specific things that you're interested in. They're going to do it a little bit differently. So it's just going to, you know, add to it. Like, I mean, Harry's probably seen this over and over, cycle and cycle, you know, inspiring generations. But yeah, like that to me is, once you get to the point where you can give it away.
Watch somebody else do something that you taught them to do, and they figured out a better way to do it.
Yeah, for sure.
I love that shit.
They come back with some super future stuff and be like, yo, remember that thing? Check this out.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I'm going to be like, all right.
That's what it's all about.
You know?
That's what it's all about. There's not many things in life that are like this. And so, but this is, and anytime you try to keep it, it ends up biting you in the ass. And all these big companies that run off and try to do it big school, it ends up fucking blowing up one way or another, internally or externally or both.
For sure.
You know, it cruises for a while and then it blows up, man. Yeah. There's a few perfect examples in California going on right now that shall remain nameless.
Well, I'm in California right now.
There's so much bullshit drama going on with some of these big boys out here. It's funny.
I bet. But yeah, I'm actually in California this week. I'm out in the lab that we have here and just working on some stuff. But yeah, cool. Man, it's interesting being out here, seeing it. Yeah.
Perfect hash weather right now.
It's crazy how nice it is out here, man. It's unbelievable. Like, you guys are so spoiled. East Coast.
Well, where are you at?
So I'm in Los Angeles right now. So.
Yo, you know who's there right now is Lindsay LaBelle. Do you know you? Of course you know Lindsay.
Mm-hmm. Where is she? Do you know where they're?
No. He's the Gorilla Solventless. The guy who did the Gorilla Rosin Press.
Oh no.
Up from Canada. Yeah. He's working with a company called Final Bell, and they're getting set up down there or something. But yeah, he's down there right now. I don't know anything about that company.
I know way too much already. That's crazy. Cool. That's awesome.
Yeah, man, they're already set up here in Canada. They've got a skew in the market.
Yeah. No, I know those guys really well. That's funny.
True.
That's trip. Yeah.
That's their resident heady boy. Like Lindsay's their weed man.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah.
That's good.
So he's down there. He was just at 710 Labs.
Yeah.
He was chilling with Skelly, checking out some flavors. But yeah.
That's cool. Yeah, I was with Brad and Skelly last week and at their spot. Great, super awesome guys. They're super cool. But yeah, that's actually where my lab is.
Oh, true.
Yeah, same exact campus.
That's dope.
Yeah,
that's very cool. Wow. We already know it's a small world.
That's crazy because I was just on the phone with them, and like, yeah, everyone's here from Canada. I was like, cool, can't wait to meet everyone.
Yeah, that's who he's talking about for sure.
Cool.
Yeah.
Do they make good stuff up there?
I haven't looked at it. Like, honestly, the market's just not where I need it to be. Like, I'm smoking.
Yeah, right on.
But like, it looks good. The price point, it's like indoor. I don't know exact price point, but I think it's between $80 and $90 a gram, and it's I believe it's indoor flower. And like, you know, John Fowler did $70 outdoor, so they're definitely competitive. And you know, Cody came in pretty expensive, and so, you know, as long as you fall below Cody, you're probably okay. And you know, I still think that there's room in the market. Like, we haven't really pushed to the high upward side in quality, and we do this thing, I guess, you know, everybody does, where, you know, you charge an ultra premium price for a non-ultra premium product, and then you really destroy any consumer trust. And then, you know, a year later you actually deliver a premium product, and then that consumer base is very hesitant to pay their money on that. So it's a tough situation.
Cool. People, he's working with some good people. That's what I can say.
Good.
I know individuals there. They're cool.
I don't know Lindsay personally, like, but I know he's been on the scene, moving things forward for a long time. Like, he was making rosin presses, and he was the first guy I knew making rosin presses in Canada. So
they're like designing the rosin presses, right on. So they're like designing a rosin press.
I don't know if there's any plans at Final Bell to be designing rosin presses. They're opening shit up in Arizona and California right now, as far as like that brand. Yeah. And, you know, Lindsay's kind of like the weed man that goes around and talks about, you know, what they do and how they do it is my understanding. Like, I'm pretty from afar. Like, Lindsay and I support each other, and then like I'm having him on the show in a month or so, but I like how he moves, and like I can see that we align in how we feel about some things, and he's been able to publicly say that well with this company, and so I'm like, all right, I can fuck with you on that. So
yeah, no, I mean, like, Final Bell's.
Yeah.
Well, look, I'm gonna jump.
Great rocking with you. Are you gonna be in Maine this week, or you are?
Yeah.
Awesome. All right. I'll see you there.
Saturday.
I'm stoked, man.
Yeah.
I'm pumped.
Yeah. Likewise.
Awesome. All right, brother. Talk to you soon.
Hey, Harry. It was good to see you, man.
Yeah, it was good to see you, man.
Let's link soon.
Definitely, man. You got to hit me up, especially if you come up here.
Fuck yeah. No, I got to come up. We'll be in. I'm going to roll. I guess.
All right. Good night.
Peace, brother.
All right. Peace, everyone.
All right. Great seeing you, man.
Yeah, you too.
Smells like powder. Ugh.
See if Buddha wants to come up and tell me about how things are going with the chickens and the hash. Harry's making dinner.
I'm here. Occupied.
You can be occupied. I'm just taking dabs.
You said
Hey,
Posh Chickens?
What up, buddy? How you doing?
You know, just listening.
Yeah, like always.
Voyeuring,
Boy.
as they call it.
How are your chickens doing?
I got like 24 in the incubator that are like, I think like 12 days in, so another 10 days they'll hatch.
Nice.
And I got four new hatched. I think it's like 10 days or something, a little over a week. Nice. We're fucking running out of dabs.
Don't say that.
I got like,
No, that's no good. The dab man himself.
got that. It's like I'm running out, but I have like five different things, just not a lot of them left to eat.
Are you one of those guys who like saves a little bit in the jar for the ridiculously long amount of time? Yeah, you are.
If I wanna like compare terps from run to run, sometimes I'll do that.
Oh yeah.
But I'm the worst. I don't put my terps back in the fridge. I leave them all. I'm fucking I'm a bad stoner, you know.
Yeah. That you know, I think there more of us leave our terps out than we care to admit.
At the beginning, I'll have them in the fridge and that, but after a while, I'm just like, well.
I just get, small enough jars, 3.5s, as long as you're not leaving your big jars out.
I never have big baller jars like that. And when I do, that's what I do. I'll have like a smaller jar for the most part. But no, my chickens are good. The cocks are fighting a lot just because it's that season to fucking dominate your cock. So just dealing with fucking all kind of fighting, but other than that,
separating them.
Not separating them. I'm just letting nature happen.
Yeah.
If I have to eat one of them, well, one of them is an Indian chicken that I paid $50 for one chick. So I'm not getting rid of that rooster. I'm keeping him.
Yeah, no, keep him.
The other one I paid like $1 for. I can always find another rooster like that.
Yeah, 100%.
I just fucking cloned all my seedlings.
Nice. What did you pop?
I popped IB Poppings. Basically, it's his strain that he popped off with called, I think now he calls it Where It Started or Where It All Started. But it's like wedding cake to C99 to guava to Trop F2.
Interesting.
And he gave me these as freebies, like before he was even doing anything. Like he's a lot more established now. And he gave me some freebies. He was rolling around with Edgar with Masonic, and he was like, "Here you go, man." And then when we were popping them, I reached out. I was like, "Hey, man, I still got these seeds." I said, "Have you gotten any feedback on the washability, etc.?" And he was like, "Yeah, man, 5%ers." So I got, I think I got 3 of those out of 6. I also did a sex test on everything. Some stuff is femme, but everything else pretty much I already had it sex tested. I got the chem chills. I got 3 phenos. 2 of them look very similar, and one of them is like a total mutant, man. It's crazy.
Oh man, that's awesome.
Like the leaves grow like that.
Like on top of
each other.
Yeah, that's
and
fucking.
They're fucking like, they almost look like fern leaves. Like they look furry almost. It's just the way they're pleated almost or whatever. It looks mad weird. And then the other 2, and it's mad tall. It's like, 18 inches, 20. Well, it's shorter now, but it was easily 18, 20 inches tall. And everything else, the other 2 are like 10 inches max. You know what I mean?
Interesting.
So I'm really curious to see how that's going to turn out.
Do you remember that? Like, I don't know if it was the RP1 or it was something from Rocky Mountain that, like, he had a picture of a veg plant that was, like, all triked out. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
No? Yeah, that thing, we never heard anything about that.
But I mean, I've seen people post. I mean, I've seen trikes on my vegging plants.
Not
You know
like
what I mean?
that. I haven't seen it anything.
Well, maybe
like
not
that.
like it's the Mac or something, but
Yeah.
and then I got Canerado's pink bubble gum.
Oh, true.
So I got two. Well, it's all fem, but I got two that survived.
Yeah.
So the IB Poppin, the Canerado, the Capillator Chem Chills. I popped a bunch of the Scallywag of these like Long Valley Kush to Chem 4 or Chem 91. And only one of them like survived, and even that one's looking pretty rough. It's like, yeah. So I got that, and I didn't sex test these, so that one I don't know. I got two Wilsons, which is like watermelon, wedding cake, watermelon, something Wilson.
Nice.
It's like so old that the pack just has like
writing
written in red pen, and it's not even the full name. It's just the letters. I had to like hit him up a couple times to be like, "What the fuck is this again?" It's like wedding cake, watermelon, wedding cake, something Wilson.
That's so funny.
I was like, "Oh, that'll probably wash."
Yeah, the Wilson's made crazy on the wash scene. It's been wild.
Nothing I've grown from him has washed, so I'm still waiting for my washer.
Yeah. I mean, I know multiple people that I've talked to who I haven't grown any of his gear, but I know multiple people who have found, you know, really nice washers in that Wilson or that Wilson line.
And then I feel like there's something else too. Oh, there's the Sea Junkie banana cooler.
Ooh. I didn't think you liked banana terps.
I don't know. What'd you say? Sorry, what?
I didn't think you liked banana terps.
I don't.
I thought you hate banana terps, right? Yeah.
But Sandman got them as I don't know if he bought them or he got it as a freebie with another seed order.
Yeah.
But they're femmes, so I popped them all, and I got two of those. But I ended up popping a bunch. Some of them died. Like one pack of, literally the pack said hash strain on it. And it was like grandpa's dirty cream pie or some shit. It was like cookies and cream with something else. Not one seed even like popped.
That sucks.
I put half a pack in. I waited like 3 days. Nothing. I threw the rest of the pack in.
Yeah.
And not even one seed like opened. I was like, it was upsetting.
Are you like are you rough on your seeds? Like throw them in water, throw them directly into media, or do you like baby them and have a seed soak and all that?
No,
stuff?
we've had this. I don't know if we've had this conversation, but I don't know. I'm of the mind that it's like we're one of the only, and I understand, I guess, because of the cost of the seeds, but we're one of the only like industries in ag where we like put seeds in paper towel and wait for them to like fully germinate and then like pop out of their seed as a naked root. And then put it into the soil. Like I never got that. I used to do it, and then I was just like, I don't understand why. Like I should just be like letting them sprout, and then put it like once you see the tail, once you see it crack, then put it in the medium.
Yeah.
But I like to soak them in water in a cup until that happens, and then put them in the medium. I tried putting them in pucks, and I was kind of meh. I'd rather just put it right in the solo cup in the.
That's what I do.
Is that everything? I think that's everything.
You go right
like
into the solo cup?
One tray of basically just testers.
Harry, you go right into a solo? Directly into a solo?
I soak them in. I mean, I have a regiment, but I mean, I take my seeds and drop them into hypochlorous acid, the Conga machine, sterilize them, and 15, 20 minutes, then I drop them into a little bit of Tarabesco extract, which is basically IMO biology, and then a little bit of Kangen water, and I just let it soak for, it's usually about a day until all of them sink. When they all are swollen and sunk, you know, then I'll plant them in the medium, and they come right up. And you got to make sure your medium's good and ready to go, you know. But
Absolutely.
Yeah, I got a whole second lineup that we'll probably do at the end of the summer once these are done running.
Do you do outdoor too, Buddha?
I mean, at my brother's, we'll throw, like last year I did autos. And some of them performed really well. The gelato autos performed really well, but they all have a taste, man. They all taste like autoflowers. I think I washed the gelato, and it was like pretty sad. Like it didn't really wash well.
I always
using
wonder
it
that
for food grade.
when people are like, "Yo, like I washed autos and the hash was awesome." It's like, well, like, you know, when you ask somebody what their 10 out of 10 day is, you know, that's different for everybody. What their 10 out of 10 day is, and so what your 10 out of 10 hash is might be very, very different than what my 10 out of 10 hash is. And that's what I find.
Yeah, for sure. I follow some people, this one person in like Spain, and they like grow a nice flower, and then I see them make their resin, and I'm like, what?
No.
Like, you know, but they love it. It's great for them. But I'm just like, yeah, I would smoke that if I was there and that's all there was, of course. I'm no snob. I'm sorry. I've been to countries where you got to pull the seeds and the fucking sticks and the fan leaves out of the, you know, the ounce you bought to get like 5 grams of something to smoke. Exactly.
Yeah, I've been there.
I wouldn't say I smoke booth.
I don't want
I
to.
would say in the right situation, Central California crop star, I would definitely smoke some booth if needed.
needed.
You know, like I remember when we're in Brazil, the fucking weed was like horrid. The weed was better in Mexico City, where we bought like a quarter pound for like $35, than it was that we paid in Brazil, where it was like $200 an ounce almost, or like $150 or something. We bought like 2 ounces, and I just sat there and I just pulled out all the shit and separated the good. And then at the end of the trip, I bought some, because we usually would stay in apartments, so I would cook. So the last day, or the night before the last day, I went out and I bought some really nice pastries. And then I went back to the room and I took all of that shit and I cooked it down with some butter. And then I spread it like a butter glaze on top of the fucking the pastries, so we could have edibles. Because we flew back from Sao Paulo to fucking BC, but we had to stop in Toronto. It was like a 16-hour flight or something stupid.
Whoa.
Yeah,
That's
man, I've done
crazy.
Australia and New Zealand, bro. I was on a plane like 19 hours, 20 hours. Like, you got to stand up. You stand up and you like walk around, or like all these dudes came up to the front. I was sitting at the first row. They all came up and just chilled. So I got up too. I was like, well, fuck this. I mean, they're on to something, you know, like we were on our way to Turkey. It was Toronto or Montreal, Toronto, I think, to Turkey. On our way to like Dubai or whatever it was.
You were touring out there?
Yeah, bro. Everywhere I've pretty much traveled has been touring.
That's crazy. That's wild.
So like New Zealand, Australia, Pakistan, Brazil, South America.
Being received in Turkey, like that kind of music, that's crazy to me. That's so cool.
Sorry?
Just like being received in places like Turkey and Dubai.
Oh, like no, we didn't play in Turkey. We just drove, like stopped over. But we've played in Dubai and Abu Dhabi. That's where we were going. When we played in Brazil, they didn't really understand. They didn't get it.
Yeah.
It was kind of a blasé reaction compared to like everywhere else in the world that we've ever played. It was kind of
interesting. Weird. Interesting. That's really cool.
Like
just
maybe
like
they
why?
weren't. It was at a festival, so maybe like that wasn't what the festival people were there to see.
Sign off,
Like,
man.
peace.